Hello and welcome back to the another episode of the Hindu News Analysis. Well, it is 4th September today, and in this video we are going to discuss some important articles which are very much relevant for your preparation. So before we'll start our discussion, I would like to give you the brief idea how we are going to discuss these articles, what our approach will be. With respect to every article which we are going to discuss today, first we will try to understand what is the summary of the article, what does the article wants to convey us, what is it all about, and we'll try to understand all that. Then we'll try to understand what are the key points in the article which are important for your examinations, which you have to note down, or if you want to get the PDF, then you can ask me. And then third, we'll look into what are the different types of questions which can be framed from these articles. If related to prelims, what kind of prelims question can be asked, and also what kind of mains question can be asked from the articles. So this is what our approach will be while we will discuss these articles. So with this, I would like to mention one more thing. If you want to get the PDF of this video, or if you want to get the PPT of this video, what you will have to do, just mail me at salvation UPSC 136 at the rate gmail.com, and you will get the PPT. So this you will have to do. Now without any delay, let's start our discussion. First, let me rub the board here, and let's see what we have to discuss today. Here the article is basically about the collegium system, the opacity in the collegium system. Well, what is the idea here? What does the article wants to convey us? Let us see. First, let's look at the title. It basically talks about concealing a judge's dissent, eroding judiciary's authority. Basically in the collegium system, it is often alleged that it is something which was created by judges itself. Collegium system is not created by the legislatures or the executive, it is created by the judges itself for themselves. And whenever there are appointments or whenever there is any decision they have taken, there is huge opacity in it. And that is very much evident with respect to the recent appointments done by the collegium system. So in this regard, there is a judge who had given her dissent, and it was not explained to the people properly. So in this regard, this article highlights this issue. There is the need that this opacity should not be there, and there should be much clarity, as judiciary expects from other government organs that there should be transparency, everything should be very much clear, but it does not apply that in the same way on the judiciary itself. So this article basically talks about this idea, and it in a way promotes that there should be much transparency with respect to appointments, with respect to the collegium system. So this is in a nutshell what does this article want to convey us. Now let's have a look at the key points given in the article which you need to note down, which you need to understand. Here first, it talks about the culture of justification. The article is framed around the legal concept of culture of justification, where every exercise of public power must be explained and defended. While the Supreme Court applies this to the government, it does not apply the principle itself regarding judicial appointments. So this is what the culture of justification, when the Supreme Court or when the courts, they expect it from the government, from the public authorities, but when it comes to judiciary itself, they don't give the reasons for that. So this is the first thing which was highlighted in the article. Then it also highlighted, as we discussed, about the collegium's opacity. The Supreme Court's collegium, a body which is the body of Chief Justice of India and four senior most judges, operate in secrecy. Its resolutions often lack detailed reasoning, and even a dissent by a sitting judge is not made public. So this opacity, it has been written from the introduction of collegium itself. And then it talks about what was the dissent. Dissent was given by Justice B.V. Nagaratna's dissent, who is the part of the collegium. The article highlights the dissent of Justice Nagaratna on the appointment of Justice Vipul M. Pancholi. Her gave reservations were not officially disclosed, but while her reservations, they were not officially disclosed. So this opacity in it is in a way written, which actually this article talks about, and this is the point where there was the need of such article in the newspaper. And the collegium's public resolution presented the decision as unanimous revealing a significant gap between what happened and what the public is allowed to know. So there is a lot of opacity in it. What they want public to know, they will tell that to public, and what they want to keep the things very much private, and they are keeping very much private. So there is a lot of disturbance in this regard. Then about the collegium system, it is a judge-made system. The collegium system originated from the second judge's case in 1993 and was further reinforced in the third judge's case. It gave the judiciary primacy in its own appointment but lacks a constitutional or legislative basis that we know, that we had discussed many times. And if you want to know more about the collegium system, as I told you, you can look into the playlist. There you will find the Indian polity classes, where you will see there is a separate discussion over the judiciary, and you can find that there. Then another issue, it highlights the issue of lack of transparency. The collegium's brief experiment with publishing detailed reasons for its appointments in 2018 was short-lived. With the stated reasons that disclosure might harm reputation, the article refutes this, arguing that other democracies manage transparency while protecting candidates' reputations. So this is what they tried it for a very short time period in 2018, but eventually they withdrew it. Then, what are the stakes for democracy? The article concludes that the collegium's secrecy undermines the judiciary's legitimacy and public trust for the judiciary to fulfill its role as an independent arbiter in a democracy. Its appointments process must be transparent and accountable, and they should take inspiration from the countries like South Africa and United Kingdom. So this is what this article is about. It basically focuses on the opacity in the collegium system, especially with respect to the appointment of judges, and the dissent given by the BV Nagaratna. It was not disclosed. It was not disclosed to the people, and whatever the decisions were taken in the collegium system, and the final decision is often named as the unanimous, which is way beyond what was the reality. So this is what the article here is trying to tell us. Now, with respect to this, what kind of question can be asked? A mains question directly about the transparency and accountability, opacity related. These terms can be asked with respect to the collegium system. What are the issues with the collegium system? A mains question can be asked, and also a prelims question can be asked from this article. And let's have a look at what kind of prelims question can be asked here. Here the question says, with reference to the Supreme Court's collegium, which of the following statements are correct? First, the collegium system is explicitly outlined in the Constitution of India. Totally incorrect. It eventually, the collegium system, it came through the second judge's case in 1993. So first statement is incorrect. Here, I would like to mention a technique which you should apply in the exams. As the first statement is incorrect, we can eliminate option A, we can eliminate option C, and we can eliminate option D. Now we are left with option B only, that is 2 and 3. Now let's look at, this should be the correct answer. Now let's look at the second option. The collegium is headed by the Chief Justice of India and includes the 4 senior most judges of the Supreme Court. That is correct. The system was established through a series of Supreme Court judgments. That is also correct. So with this, I hope you had understood the article here and the questions and the question and these key points. Now here I would like to take a minute to give you the introduction of this initiative which we had started from 2nd June 2025. So what is this initiative? The name of the initiative is Target IAS 2026. Under this initiative, I had promised you that every day I will try to upload 2 videos, one in the morning session where we will discuss the current affairs, and second in the evening session where we will take care of your static syllabus. Here, I had promised you by the month of January 2026, I will complete your full syllabus. Whatever would be required for you to clear the exam, everything would be covered. Whether it is related to prelims or mains, the only exception is that we are not going to cover the optional subjects here. And also I mentioned one thing, that while we are delivering these lectures, at the same time we are preparing the notes for you. We are preparing notes, and these notes are very differently written. Because after every concept which we had discussed there, you will find prelims or mains question. So it will give you the idea how these concepts can be asked in the exam. And also, currently with respect to the second part, which is the static syllabus, we had completed the Indian polity classes, we had completed governance, and we are about to complete ancient history. Today we may discuss the 8th lecture of ancient history. So with this, if you want to be the part of this initiative, please do subscribe the channel, do share it with your friends so that they may also get benefited from this initiative if you are getting benefited. And please do write in the comments what else should we bring for you guys. And also, If you want to get in contact with us and you want to get access to these notes, what you will have to do, you will have to mail us at salvation UPSC and salvation UPSC 136 at the rate gmail.com. You will request the notes and you will be told to pay only 200 rupees per book. And one thing I would again tell about this book, about Indian polity and governance, you will not miss any topic from it. Any topic you want to search there which is relevant for your exam, that would be there. So with this, let's move to the another slide and see what article we had brought there. Well, it talks about the reservation exceeding the 50% cap. 50% cap. Why? Because the elections are in Bihar and there are different political parties who are promising 85% reservation. Some are promises something, and there are always issues with respect to that. And now the question is, should reservation exceed the 50% cap as is discussed in the article? The cap which was given by the Indra Sahni judgment, basically it was discussed way before Indra Sahni judgment, but Indra Sahni judgment reaffirmed it. It gave the 50% cap. It should not, the reservation should not exceed 50%. But in 2022, there was another judgment which said that it is good that reservation for it should not exceed 50%, but for the economically weaker sections, there is different reservation. So, in nutshell, there is the need of the reservation. We need to give, as it is something which was promised, during the discussion of the formation of the constitution. We have the equality in Article 15 and 16. There is equality, but at the same time, there are certain limits in which we cannot discriminate. But equality does not mean that everybody should treat equal. Equality is not, the concept of equality is very different. Different should be treated differently. For example, if there are three people who have different heights, and you would have seen this example often on Facebook or Instagram, and they want to watch the match. So equality would be give them the equal platform. But we believe in equity. What we believe in? We believe in equity. That for one, there should be something given to him. For second, there should be something lower, so that everybody will become equal. So this is the concept of equity, and this is what is enshrined. Not directly, but this is what we can get from the constitution. So with respect to this, let's have a look at what are the key points given in the article, and let's try to analyze them. Here first it talks about the constitutional provisions. Article 15 and 16 of the Constitution of India enable the state to make special provisions for the advancement of socially and educationally backward classes. That is true. If you want to know, go to my playlist. There you will find the fundamental, the Indian polity, and you will go into the fundamental rights. There you will find where we had discussed Article 15 section in great detail, 14, 15, 16. Then it further talks about current reservation. What is the current reservation percentage? At the central level, the total reservation currently stands at 59.5%, which is broken down as follows. OBC, it is 27%, scheduled caste 15%, scheduled tribe 7.5%, and economically weaker sections, it is 10%. And the 50% ceiling, the Supreme Court in the Balaji case in 1962 first introduced the principle that reservation should not exceed 50%. So it was first introduced in the Balaji case. That was reaffirmed in the Indra Sahni case judgment. It was reaffirmed in the Indra Sahni case judgment, where Indra Sahni case judgment further gave the creamy layer concept. The creamy layer concept, the Indra Sahni case introduced the creamy layer concept to exclude the affluent within the OBC category from reservations benefits. There is a persistent demand to extend this to SCs and STs. That should be done. Then concentration of benefit. The Rohini Commission found that about 97% of reservation jobs and seats have been secured by only 25% of the OBC communities, highlighting a significant inequality. Then, so there should be subcategorization, and if you can remember, there was some Supreme Court judgment with respect to that. Unified vacancies, a considerable percentage of seats, 40 to 50% reserved for OBCs, SCs, and STs in the central government remain unfilled. So definitely, if we look at the historical wrongs done to these people, definitely there is the need that reservation should be given to them. But at what level? For me, if you will ask me what should be the answer, I would say it should not exceed 50%. Because if we are, while giving benefit to others, at the same time while giving benefit to them, you are in a way not being just justified. You are not justified with the general people. So this is the issue. The government has to balance everything here. So with respect this was the idea given in the article. Let's see what kind of question can be asked from the article here. A simple question with reference to Supreme Court's judgment on reservation. Which of the following statements are correct? First, the principle of 50% reservation ceiling was first established in the Indira Sawhney judgment. No, as we discussed, it was Balaji case. So it was first established there. Indira Sawhney judgment reaffirmed it. Then the Janhit Abhiyan case 2022 stated that the 50% ceiling does not apply to economically weaker section reservation. 100% correct. Then the third option, the concept of a creamy layer for OBCs was introduced in the Balaji case. No, it was not introduced in the Balaji case, but it was introduced in the Indira Sawhney case. So with respect to this question, the correct statements are statement 2 and statement 3. The correct answer to this question is stated that the 50% ceiling does not apply to the Janhit Abhiyan does apply to 50% ceiling. It is correct. Second, the concept of creamy layer for OBCs was introduced in the Balaji case, no, in the Indira Sawhney case. So with respect to this question, the correct statement is option 2 only. So with this, I hope you had understood the article. Now let's move to the third article, which was given in the news today. Here it is about the 2-rate GST to kick in on September 2022. You know well, currently if we have what are the GST rates, GST slabs, we have 15%, we have 12%, we have 18%, and we have 28%. But recently the government thought that it is not something which is helpful for the people, because if they thought that they should only have 2-rate GST, and what they did, they in a way diluted 18% and 28%. Most of the items from the 18% were shifted to 5%, and most of the items from 28 were shifted to 12%. And with this, now what are the current GST slabs? It is 5% and 12%, and also there is an additional 40% GST slab. But this is for the sin goods and the luxury goods. So it went to the GST Council, and eventually the GST Council agreed it. Now it will kickstart from the September 22 of this year. So with respect to this, let us see what are the key points given. What were the reasons for this? That the reasons cited by the government were that if we will reduce the GST, it will lead to consumption. How it will lead to consumption? That more money would be available in the hands of the people. So there would be more consumption. So eventually it will help in the economy of the country. So this is what this article basically is about. Now let's see let's look briefly into it and see what are the points given in there. Here first it talks about the rate rationalization. The existing 4-tier structure is of 5%, 12%, 18%, and 28% has been simplified. The 12% and 28% rates have been scrapped with items moving to either 5% or 18%. So actually it is 12% and 28% have been scrapped. I guess I mentioned it here it wrong. It is 12% and 28% had 12% and 28% have been scrapped. Now it is 5% and 18% only. Now reduced taxes for common goods. Household items like hair oil, soap, shampoo, and bicycles will move from 18% or 12% to 5%. So there would be a reduction in rates for oils, shampoos, and all that. It will definitely, we will see it in the coming days. Then packaged foods including namkeens, paste, pasta, noodles, and chocolates will also be taxed at 5%. There we will also see the rate will decrease. Then cement will see a significant tax cut from 28% to 18%. With respect to cement also rate cut. What are the tax exemptions given? All Indian breeds including rotis, chapatis, and parathas will be tax free. Essential items like ultra high temperature milk, paneer, and 33 life saving drugs will also have a 0% GST rate. Individuals individual life and health insurance policies are now exempt from GST, a move intended to increase insurance penetration. That's a great step. Then, what is this special 40% rate? The new slab will apply to sin goods such as tobacco products and super luxury items like large cars, motorcycles over 350cc, yachts, and helicopters for personal use. The transition for tobacco products will be phased in after the common compensation cess loan is repaid. So for the transition with respect to the tobacco, it will be seen once the compensation cess loan is repaid. Then what is the inverted duty structure corrections? The tax on raw materials like man-made fibers and yarns as well as on agricultural inputs has been reduced to 5% to correct the inverted duty structure and support domestic industries. So this is the little data given with respect to the taxes, how the taxes had been reduced and what are the items for which these taxes had been reduced. So we understood what is the motive of the government here, that there should be more consumption and more money would be available in the hands of the people. And with respect to sin goods, they will make it expensive so that as it is harmful for the health, eventually it can it may this it may lead to less people may get less attracted to these goods. Now with respect to this, let's see what kind of question can be asked. Here the question, means type of question can be asked. The recent GST rate rationalization is a significant step towards simplifying India's indirect tax regime. In this context, analyze the key objectives and potential impacts of the new two-rate GST structure on the Indian economy. Discuss the challenges that still need to be addressed to ensure the effective implementation of these reforms. So this type of question can be asked. If you want to answer this question, you can. If you want to practice it, you can practice it. It would be good for you. And if you want your answer to be checked by me, you can mail me, and you know my mail ID. I had given it already 2 to 3 times. Or if you can't read from there, then go to the bio of this video. There you will find the mail ID, and there you can approach me. Now with this, let's move to the another article. Here it talks about the meeting between the India's external affairs minister and the foreign minister of Germany, and there were discussions various with respect to the Europe-India free trade agreement, as it is believed that it may be concluded very soon. So there were agreements with respect that there was push for that, and also the situation right now when India is changing its foreign policy, it is more aligning again towards the Russia, and it has started to have a friendly relation with China. And it is a time when the allies of Europe and the Europe itself is imposing secondary sanctions on the Russia, that any country who is buying the Russian oil, they will impose sanctions on that country too. And also the tariff war from USA, and how USA is how the Trump is seeing all this. So this was the very, in a way, this was very well awaited discussion between these two foreign ministers. So with respect to this, many things were discussed. As I told you, the European free trade agreement was discussed, India-Europe free trade agreement, and also the foreign minister of Europe, he criticized the Russia, he criticized the China, how they are threat to the world, and in a way we saw that how our approach was different in this regard. So this is in a nutshell what this article is about. Now let's have a look at what were the key points. First, it talks about the bilateral economic goals. India and Germany have committed to doubling their trade and expediting the India-Europe free trade agreement negotiations, which are expected to conclude by the end of 2025. What is the geopolitical challenge? The meeting was held against a backdrop of economic volatility and political uncertainty, referring US tariffs and the looming threat of European Union secondary sanctions on Russian oil purchases. Different stances on Russia. German Foreign Minister Vediful did not directly state whether Germany would support sanctions against India, but has comments and recent statements from German Chancellors Friedrich Merz suggest a push for Europe to enforce penalties on nations financing Russia's war economy. Then India's position. India, a major buyer of Russian oil, has consistently defended its purchase on the grounds of energy security. India's external affairs minister sidestepped the comments on Russia and China, instead advocating for a multipolar world with strategic autonomy. Then security and regional concerns. The German foreign minister called Russia and China's aggression the biggest challenge to the international order, highlighting shared concerns about Chinese behavior in Indo-Pacific. So there are, shared concerns with respect to that. But eventually, right now, the condition, the India is facing the real challenge of the foreign policy, and let's see what will happen in this regard. So with this, let's see what kind of question. Again, a main type of question can be asked, and the question may say, well, India's foreign policy is increasingly characterized by a strategic balancing act between its traditional partners and new geopolitical alignments. In this context, analyze the complexities of the India's relationship with Germany and the European Union, discuss the opportunities and challenges posed by the proposed India-Europe Free Trade Agreement in the light of divergent views on Russia and global security issues. So, in a way, you give the summary of this, article, and you have to start writing your answers in this regard. So, with this, let's move to the another article. Here it is about the India's first vulture conservation portal launched in Assam. A prelims question can be asked from this article, a direct prelims question. India's vulture conservation portal launched in Assam. So in this regard, let's see what are the key points. It is a pioneer institute. The portal is reportedly the first of its kind in India, aimed at building a collaborative network of individuals and organizations for vulture conservation purpose, to connect conservation researchers and students and to make information on vulture conservation accessible to local communities. The focus on local language is a key feature to ensure grassroots engagement. Collaboration. The project is a joint effort between We Foundation India, Guwahati University's Department of Zoology, and the Assam Board Monitoring Network, Lhasa Foundation, and Saraksha Samiti. So this you have to know what is the project is a joint effort between who had collaborated in this project. This is very much important for you. Contextual timing. The portal was launched in the lead up to the International Vulture Awareness Day, which is observed every year on the first Saturday of the September, to highlight the urgency of vulture conservation. Ecological significance. The article implicitly highlights the importance of vultures, which play a crucial role as scavengers. Their dramatic decline in India, primarily due to the veterinary drugs diclofenac, has had significant ecological and public health consequences. Vultures, as they are scavengers, they feed on dead people, and the veterinary drug like diclofenac, it is often used in the it is often used for the as an antibiotic or the pain reliever for these animals. So when they feed it, they eventually it leads to the death of these vultures, and now it is prime time to conserve it, and this is the best initiative which we had brought in. So with respect to this, what kind of question can be asked? The question says, which of the following statements about vultures in India are correct? First, the population of some vulture species in India has been catastrophic decline, primarily due to the use of veterinary drug. That is correct. Second, vulture conservation efforts in India include captive breeding programs and the creation of vulture safe zones. That's true. Third statement, International Vulture Awareness Day is observed annually on the first Saturday of September. That's also correct. So with respect to this question, all the three statements are correct. And from the code given below, the correct code would be option D. With this, we had completed our today's discussion. I hope you would have liked the video. I hope you would share it with your friends so that they may also get benefited from this initiative. I hope you would subscribe the channel. Thank you for staying with me. Thank you very much and have a nice day.